Folks, we're back. This is Stephanie Phillips, and Frank Friends is joining me today for another episode of Veterans in Politics. We have Tammie Roitman joining us today. She is a clinical hypnotherapist, has a private practice, and they do group hypnotherapy, and the practice is called Tammie S Dynamics. But before we get to Tammie, Frank, what is your rant? I know you have one.
Oh, I got a few of them. I'm going to keep it short.
Okay.
America and American voters, it's time for y'all to have some moral scruples and start being sheepdog, start protecting the innocent. When you see somebody who protects the weak because they cannot protect themselves or they're too scared to, you don't need to have a multiple month-long trial. You don't need anything past 48 hours to look at the evidence to come back with non-guilty verdicts. And these DAs that are trying these cases, costing your city and your taxpayers millions of dollars, need to be removed. So start looking at your DAs. Start going through who's running for judge. Start getting involved, because I promise you, you will see these people before you ever see the vice president or a cabinet member. These people affect your lives directly. And you saw what they tried to do to a man who protected innocent people. They tried to get him for murder. They will do the same to you if you don't stop them. And Lombardo, if you want to actually make change in Nevada, legalize mutual combat. That's my rant.
That's it?
That's it. I told you I'll keep it short and sweet.
Okay, that was great. Okay. Tammie, you want to tell us about yourself and give us a bio?
Sure. My name is Tammie Roitman, and I was a very special school psychologist in Clark County School District for almost 17 years. And I was their only mental health expert and begged and pled for a mental health team. The right people went up top, and I think they knew what I brought to the table and said, give it to her. I created it, and the services that we have in Clark County now for mental health came out of the mental health program, which was a transitional program that transitioned kids from in-state and out-of-state psychiatric hospitals back into the school setting, getting the schools to step up to the plate to make a plan for them, because they deserve the same opportunities as everybody else to succeed in the one arena that they're in most of the day. And after that, I said, well, what's next for me? And I kind of got tired of the diagnoses, because I felt like they unempowered people. And it doesn't tell you anything about what's going on with that particular person. Someone's given a diagnosis pretty much so somebody can get paid on an insurance. And I had worked with a lot of kids that were in therapy and, was helpful only to a point, and put on a lot of medications that were helpful and sometimes were even worse off than when they had started. And so I said, what empowers somebody to go within ourselves? We are the most knowledgeable about ourselves. We are a very wise being, although we have forgotten that part of ourselves. So I did about 1.5 years worth of research on different types of holistic modalities. And I felt like hypnotherapy was exactly who I was, because it does draw somebody in to go within themselves, get away from the thinking mind, get away from the judgments, get away from the criticisms, and look at the inner conflicts and the coping mechanisms that have been created to help somebody kind of function in day-to-day life. And I know it kind of sounds funny, well, anxiety, anger, depression, even PTSD, how are those coping mechanisms? Well, they're coping because they're helpful in some way. It can help us feel in control. It can help us, feel like we're protecting ourselves. They're created in some way, and they're created at what we call the subconscious mind, which, if you think about the subconscious mind, just think about a little tape recorder that records every tiny second of our life. And when something happens and it's not completed, like if we're a small child and our parents are constantly yelling, well, a small child wants to feel safe. So they might even have observed a parent who is anxious and say, okay, I'm safe after I feel this much anxiety. And then the next thing happens, and then the subconscious says, well, if this much anxiety made me feel safe, then this much is going to make me feel even more. And so the pattern kind of starts. And I think that a lot of people have a misconception about what hypnotherapy or hypnosis is. To me, the word means to go within oneself. And when we're in oneself, it's peaceful. It's a state that we're constantly in and out of, that we don't recognize that we are. But if we're focused on doing some creative project and we're not thinking, you're in a state of hypnosis. When we're young children and our imagination is creating everything, it's a state of hypnosis. And nobody can put you there. You have to start to trust yourself to go within yourself.
So there's no little follow this and
So there are techniques like that, but I choose in my practice not to use that. I use guided progressive relaxation for two reasons. First, I want somebody to know that I'm not doing anything. You're doing it. And second of all, we don't spend enough time with ourselves. We're, constantly chaotic, taking care of other people, doing this, doing that. And we're not spending enough time with ourselves, even though we are number one. We have been taught since we were young children that everybody else comes first and that it's selfish to put ourselves first. But isn't it selfish to us not to put ourselves first? And I don't mean in the ego kind of way. I mean that if we don't take care of us, we cannot help another human being. It's impossible. And so it's kind of selfish to our own selves that we're just as valuable as anybody else, that we have to put ourselves first. We have to spend time with ourselves. And then we get to go out and help as many people as we possibly can.
So,
sorry, hon. Just to let everybody know, since the holidays are coming up and a lot of people have issues with depression, suicidal thoughts, things like that, especially when veterans suffer PTSD and get depressed. So we wanted to have Tammie on to talk about some coping mechanisms and some things that people can do to help them get through that time. So do you want to go through that? Sorry, Frank, go ahead.
I was going to say, like, what are like some of the misconceptions? Because I know I hear this all the time, like when you're driving and you're like, did I stop at that light? Is that the street I'm supposed to try? That's like hypnosis. Like you're in a
mesmerized.
Yeah, just straight transit state. And you're just, so like driving would be, like you said, like a form of hypnosis.
When you miss an exit or you're, not paying attention to.
So since, especially, and I mean, society knows this, but I'm going to say it as a man, men, we are conditioned to put everybody else before us. What are some coping mechanisms that you're going to cover that can help men understand? Because I had to learn this too once I had my daughter, is if I don't put myself first, I don't give my daughter the best of who I am, which does not benefit her growth if I'm not growing.
Correct.
So what are some things that you can speak to that would help people during these times on how to do that?
Well, when it comes to kind of parenting, you are the guide of the child, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when we're teaching or we're guiding, then we have to be solid within ourselves. And so, to take care of yourself are things like you can go into meditation. And meditation and hypnosis are often kind of intertwined. But meditation really is the art of doing nothing, not thinking, not responding to the sensations in the body. And hypnosis keeps the mind kind of active, moving, and changing the inner conflicts. So let's start with just a basic technique that can be used to, let's say, go into meditation. If people like the meditation word technique. Okay. So what I'm going to ask you to do, since I'll kind of play with you.
All
right, is go ahead and close your eyes. Now, the one thing is when your daughter, when she was a baby, she only breathed in and out of her nose. She never used her mouth. And that is the natural state of breathing. And when that's off, a lot of things can get off. So I'm going to ask you to take a deep breath in through your nose, making sure the stomach moves out first, and then draw the breath up and then out through the nose. And I want you to find a focal point. So you can either move your full attention, awareness, and focus to the tips of your nasal passage and be the observer of the breath moving in and out. You can put your hand on your stomach and watch it go up and down. You can even put your hands on your rib cage and feel them and expand and contract. And just go ahead and take like 3 breaths just like that. And notice how the body begins to relax. And as the body begins to relax, the mind is going to begin to relax. And when the mind begins to relax, we go into that very peaceful state of our being. And now you have just spent a couple of minutes within yourself. If a thought comes up, you acknowledge the thought. We're always taught to move away from the thought or distract ourselves. But I always think of thoughts and emotions like 2-year-olds. They want your attention. They want something from you. So the more you try to push them away like that 2-year-old, the more they're going to come back and say, no, wait, pay attention to me. And as soon as you do, the 2-year-old settles down. Well, so does the thought. So does the sensation in the body. Same with physical pain. A lot of people that are veterans, they also have a lot of physical pain. And a lot of times you got to remember, I'll jump on a spiritual journey for a second. We're an energy that moves through a body. And when the energy is flowing and it's soft and we're happy and we're peaceful, it just moves through the body, no problem. But when we're anxious or we're depressed or we're afraid, which is really the underlying of the anxiety, of the depression, of the anger, and even of the PTSD, that energy is a very slow, heavy energy. So it sticks into the body and it causes a discomfort. And if we go to the discomfort, especially when you get really good at meditation, when you can close your eyes and move your awareness to, let's say your knee is hurting, and you pay attention to the pain, and then you start using the breath that I just showed you, and see in your own mind the breath moving into that. And then as it moves out, the knee starts to relax. When the pain goes down, so do the emotions. But I want to try something that everybody can use going into the holidays, because the holidays are difficult, not just for veterans, but people in general. Whether you have lost a family member and we're kind of holding on to a past, which is okay if you're bringing up the happy past, if you're remembering what it was like if your parent is gone, when you were a little child waking up and running to the Christmas tree and everybody's sitting there and everybody happy, even if it was just for that moment, we forget these things. We take life for granted. We think people are going to be there in the next moment. There's no guarantee of that. This is the moment that you get. And I always say, when you're going to holidays and family is driving you crazy, well, they're not going to show you anything that you don't already know about them. So to prepare yourself before you kind of go into the situation of, I know what to expect, but I am in control of how I am going to respond to it, because everything around me is my own interpretation and my own perception. It's not wrong. It's mine, but I am in full control on how I am going to respond to that. I can respond to it peacefully. I can respond to it angry. I can respond to it anxiously. It's up to me. So I always say, stop before you even walk in. Close your eyes, take a couple of breaths, settle yourself down. Remind yourself that everybody is going to be how they are, and that's how they are. You're not going to change them. And it's up to you on how you want to interact. And I always say, think about this. It could, in fact, be the last time you're going to have a holiday and a moment with that person. How do you want to remember it? And if it's your last moment, how do you want them to remember you? We forget that. And just with that notion, you can try and go and have a better time, because you're going to stay far more into the moment. And when, our dad's sister is sitting there yelling, we know that we can respond by getting frustrated and yelling right back, or we can stop and say, hey, what does this moment have to offer me? And if you can go with the first thing that comes to your mind, you're going to see what that experience has for you. So maybe it's just to test you on how are you going to respond to it. Make sense?
What about people who suffer with alcoholism, substance abuse, things like that? And they're going into the holidays, and sometimes it just gets worse
because it's a coping skill.
That's
right?
That's how they cope. So with that, how would you work with somebody like that, or talk to somebody like that?
When I actually work with them. Mm-hmm. So with hypnotherapy, somebody is in a very relaxed state, and you go to completing the situations in which they were in that they develop that type of coping skill. And because they're all incomplete situations, right? And when we have a situation that's incomplete, we drag it to the next moment. In this moment, right here, right now, there is nothing to be angry about. There is nothing to be frustrated about. That's not until something happens and we start to create that in the moment. The moment is peaceful. The moment is what it is. But we're moving so fast through life that we're missing so much of every moment. We're so busy dragging a past. The past is gone. We can't change it. But what we can do is we can complete it, and we can take the knowledge and the wisdom of that experience forward. I always say these are stepping stones. We're all on this earth to do something amazing. I don't care who you are here to do something amazing. And every one of these stepping stones throughout our life are here to help us do it. And every person in every situation that we're in is offering us a gift. It's up to us to see the gift, right? Mm-hmm. So when going into the holidays, I give them specific techniques. So I want them to settle themselves down before they go into those situations. And if they feel like they can't handle those situations, then they have to decide if that's the best thing for them to do, is to go into the situation.
Do you have different techniques for somebody with substance abuse versus someone who has anxiety or PTSD, or is it the same type of coping skills?
So again, we're throwing these labels out. Mm-hmm. And so I do a very detailed intake, about an hour and a half to 2 hours, because I want to know, where does it come from? What function does it play? How do you experience it? So when I look at somebody and they have to come up with goals, and we come up with goals, and they have to monitor their goals from week to week. That's just the school psychologist in me. It doesn't matter if someone says, oh, you seem like you're more peaceful, or you're not using so much, or you're not drinking so much. If that person doesn't feel that, and they don't experience it that way, then it doesn't really matter. It's somebody else's opinion. Mm. So they're monitoring to see their own kind of progress. So to give a broad spectrum, I teach everybody techniques like progressive relaxation. Everybody is given homework, and they do the homework or they don't do the homework. It's all fine with me, but I'm not going to add on to it until they have it solid. So each week they're given a different type of homework assignment that's added on to the one before. Because important to me is not just coming in and working with the emotional stuff and the physical stuff. It's also teaching you a skill, knowing that you have everything within yourself to make your life exactly how you want it to be. And it was always designed to be very peaceful. We're the ones that made it difficult. From birth to about 5 years old, we know exactly who we are. We know exactly why we're here, and we know exactly what direction we need to head in to get to do what we're here to do. But then we start listening to everybody else and their interpretations and their perceptions about us. And because we're young, influential children, we take it as if it's true, and we create ourselves almost in an illusionary way to fit what everybody else has told us about ourselves. Until one day we wake up and we say, wait a minute, that's not me at all, because it's somebody else's interpretation and perception of you.
Yeah, what's interesting about that is NASA did a study between the ages of 1 through 5. Most humans operate at genius level. It's after the ages of 5 to 10, when they've gone to school and their peers have told them this and that and the other thing, that you see a decline in the increase of intelligence and IQ and genius capabilities. So that's interesting that you say that between 1 to 5, we know. We're like, this is where we're going. This is what we're doing.
We're constantly in our imagination. We're seeing younger and younger, because kids are being put on video games that they want this game or that game. But when I was growing up, nobody even thought about the finances that their parents had, or whether we got this or whether we got that. We have become to the point where we're sharing way too much with young children that only want to feel safe and protected.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and that's one thing with raising my daughter and my son. I learned I listen to and read a lot of Jordan Peterson. So I'll let them do dangerous things in a safe manner. So like crawling in specific areas or heights that would be slightly dangerous, as long as there's cushions underneath, and they're exploring and, like you said, doing their thing.
Yeah.
And they're safe in it, because it is a dangerous activity like climbing, but it's in a safe manner. So they're comfortable with it, and they don't even like look down and be like, "Oh my God, I'm climbing something." They're like, "No, I'm just climbing," and they keep climbing and climbing and climbing and climbing.
Right. I mean,
And then they're like, "Oh, I'm at the top of this. Oh wow, I got pretty far."
Yeah, fears are usually learned behavior.
Yeah.
And the good thing about being a human being is whatever we learn, we can unlearn. So, but I'd like to guide through a process so people can kind of get an idea of something that's not too long and is pretty quick and relaxes the entire body real quick. So,
Sure.
You ready?
Sure.
So if we could all just close our eyes and find that place behind your closed eyes. It can be above you or below you or to the left of you or to the right of you. And just focus on that place for a moment. And start taking nice, long, deep, easy breaths in and out of the nose. And make sure that the stomach moves out and you draw the breath up, because you want to completely expand the lung and you want to completely let go of it. And when I say move your full attention, awareness, and focus to a certain part of the body, what that means is your eyes are closed, but it's as if they were open. So go ahead and move your full attention, awareness, and focus to the top of your head. And just let the top of your head begin to relax. Now, you can start at any part of the body you want. Matter of fact, when you close your eyes, you could take a little inventory and say, which part of my body is the most relaxed? And go towards that. And then start expanding the relaxation from that. So move your full attention, awareness, and focus to the back of your head, to your forehead, to your right ear, the left ear, your right temple, the left temple, your right eye, the left eye, your right nasal passage, the left nasal passage. Let your cheeks relax. Move your awareness to your jaw. Let the jaw become limp and loose, just relaxed. Move your awareness and relax the back of your head, the back of your neck. Let your throat relax. Move your awareness to your right shoulder, the upper arm, elbow, lower arm, wrist, hand, your right thumb, index finger, middle finger, ring finger, pinky finger, your left shoulder, upper arm, elbow, lower arm, wrist, hand, your left thumb, index finger, middle finger, ring finger, pinky finger. Let the top of your chest relax. Moving your awareness down the sternum, letting the stomach relax, all the organs in the stomach. Let your shoulder blades relax. Let your back relax. Let each vertebrae in the spine relax. Let your hips relax. And your right thigh, knee, shin, calf. Let the right ankle relax. The top of the foot, and the bottom, the ball, the arch, the heel. Let your right big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, and baby toe begin to relax. Relaxing the buttocks. Relaxing your left thigh, knee, shin, calf, ankle, the top of your left foot, the bottom, the heel, arch, ball, the left big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, baby toe. And as you'll notice that the body has become a little more relaxed and the breath has become a little more soft and rhythmic. Now you can use the imagination for a moment and find a nice protective, soothing, comforting color. Whatever color first comes to mind is probably the right one to use. And as if you were standing under the most amazing, healing, and comforting waterfall, allow that color to move either from the top of your head to the tips of your toes, or from the tips of the toes to the top of the head. And just be in this space for a moment. It's a quick and easy thing to do, just to be peaceful. Now, if you were working with a painful sensation in the body, you could go from this and move your awareness to that part of the body and put your whole attention there and let it be as it wants to be. So you may feel the sensation, but you may not want to do anything about it. And you can imagine in your mind's eye that the breath or the color that you're using goes into that area, comforting and soothing it. And as you release the breath, it lets the pain or the discomfort move away. Now, because we're getting ready for the holidays, then I invite you to try something like this before you go in to a holiday function. And if you're going in with family and you know how family is, you could bring a scene to your mind, something from way back when, perhaps, where everybody got along, where it was just a happy, loving, peaceful time. And to remember that everybody is how they are. Nobody's wrong. Everybody's right. And just allow yourself this peaceful moment. And when you're ready, you can take a deep breath and come back and open your eyes. And see how you've been able to just shift yourself just a little bit in a very quick amount of time.
That's very relaxing.
Mm-hmm.
You just take time. I don't.
Yeah, just time for yourself. Yeah.
Do you ever sit during the day and just, I mean, what was that, 5 minutes?
It wasn't even.
Even?
No.
Do you ever sit? I never, ever do that.
Right.
I don't have time to sit.
I know.
But you
We're
have
always
to
on the go.
make
Yeah, you
time.
gotta make
And
the
that's
time.
the point. This is a very quick technique. And when I bring people in that I work with, this is what I teach them how to do. And then I draw them even deeper into that space. But I also want them to know and remember, this is a natural state. And we're all capable of getting there actually in a half a second. You don't even have to do any of that. I mean, I'm at the point where I can just close my eyes and be there. And so, and when we're young children, that's exactly what we do. That's the power of the imagination. We forget how powerful our thinking is and how life is always going to give you what you put your energy into. So if you put your energy into everybody is going to be chaotic for the holidays, you can guarantee that that's the way you're going to experience it. But if you put your energy into, hey, there is times where we have been so peaceful and harmonious together, you're going to interpret the situation like that.
Do you do sessions online with people, like video?
So, yeah.
Conference?
So in my private practice, I do the one-on-one stuff, and I do it with people all over the world, actually, via Zoom. I have a HIPAA compliant Zoom.
Zoom,
And-
that's what I was trying to
Mhm.
think of.
Yeah, and some people, they feel more comfortable at home, which is fine. I like them in my office because my office is like moving out of the United States for a minute, moving off the earth, actually, just the way that it's kind of set up to, help people feel safe and peaceful. But I do see people all over the world on Zoom, and my company actually does group hypnotherapy where we'll just focus on one thing. So it's not like someone comes to me and they have all these goals, like the groups are specifically for anxiety or specifically for anger or specifically for depression or even PTSD, or we do addiction. I donate Sundays to the Las Vegas Rescue Mission, and I do a group with the people down there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And how many people can be in a group?
So,
At a time.
the group can be tremendously large. However, because I am who I am and I do what I do that I like, I limit my groups to 10 people because I can give individual time to those 10 people. And also, I understand when people are going through the process that it's very important to be there with them through the process. So my phone is always open for someone to call if they're using a technique and they're still having like tremendous panic or anxiety, or some people, their strength and their breakthrough is going to be just reaching out because they see it as such a weakness. And so like with my one-on-one clients, I don't charge for that. I want to be there for them. And in groups, whoever I have, some other people that do some groups with me, they're always able. I mean, at the rescue mission, they can't reach out to me just because of their program. And when I've done it in treatment centers, just because of that. But I always want to be available to people. I really am passionate about what I do, and I want to be able to help as many people as I possibly can live a peaceful, easy life. That's what it is. That's how it is, and that's how it was always intended to be. We just get in our own ways.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
Well, that's interesting. I mean, I've never been a real peaceful person until the birth of my daughter. That's the only thing that really calmed me down. And then my wife and then my son brought it even further to a calm.
Yeah.
But that's interesting because, like like you said, my life as a child was chaotic.
So was mine, but those are
Yeah.
your stepping stones.
Yeah.
Like for me, if I didn't experience the things that I've experienced in my life, there's no way I would understand the people that come into my office. I realized a long time ago what a gift I got from my childhood experience. And matter of fact, my mother passed away in 2021, and I went to see her and I said, you know, it's time for you to stop punishing yourself. You have given me the most amazing gifts that I could ever ask for, and it's time to go. And 3 days later, after I left, she passed away. But we don't recognize that life is giving us gifts to be able to do, like I said earlier, what we are here to do. If I don't know in my own life what it was like to be anxious or afraid or angry, or grow up with addicted parents like I did, or the fear, how am I supposed to help somebody? You're not going to read a book and understand what that's like, And when you start seeing that life is giving you these gifts, then you see it less as a traumatic experience and more as a gift to be able to help somebody else.
What age groups do you mostly, is it all ages, kids up to?
So I have been known to work with 2 and 3-year-olds, which are fun because I can't ask them to walk into my world. I get to walk into theirs, all the way through the end of life.
Okay.
And I've done end of life, and I think that's fascinating too, where people are just kind of wrapping up, things that that need to be wrapped up.
So do you see more peace in like the early stages, like the 2s and 5-year-olds, and then the ones that are closer at end of life? Do you see more peace with those people than you find with the people in the middle who are still fighting?
It's all the same. By the time they're ready to come to me, they're tired and they've already tried so many other things.
That makes sense. Because, a lot of people don't understand the hypno or the breathing or the taking time for yourself. They're like, diagnose it, give me a pill, let me get on my way.
Right, which might de-escalate some of the feelings, but it's going to Band-Aid it too. So you're not going to be able to really address what's kind of going on, what caused it. And going back to relive something, there's no need to do that. We don't need to do that. We've already done it once. There's no reason to re-experience it. And the problem really isn't the past. The problem really is that we're bringing it to the now. And the now is a problem. We can't change the past. It can't be changed. And we haven't hit a future. So we don't even know what to expect with that. A lot of anxiety is about the future. What's the next moment going to bring? And that usually goes back to childhood and, parents arguing or not feeling safe in that environment, right?
Well, that's my biggest fear as a husband and a provider is like, you're not going to get that house, or you're not going to get that car, or you're not going to pay that bill. And I think that, like you said, that stems from childhood, seeing that parents are always arguing over money, why this bill isn't paid, you're not helping here, you know what I mean?
But you create
yeah.
more of that for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, we forget how powerful our thoughts are. They're tremendously powerful. We are creating everything. Like people, once we're done with the emotional stuff, then sometimes they want to reduce their weight. And I say reduce and not lose because human beings don't like to lose anything. So even the word loss can be a counterintuitive at the subconscious level. We don't like to lose people. We don't like to lose anything. So to reduce this, to gain this, I say, well, look how much time you spend on how much you weigh. Look how much time you spend on how much you eat or this, that, or whatever. So of course the weight's not going to let go because you're spending your time and energy and thought on where you're at instead of what you want.
Do you work with schools now, or was that before? Do you implement any of these things with the kids or school programs or counselors there?
I don't work in the schools per se. First of all, what I would do, which is hypnosis, you can't do in the schools per Nevada law. But do I work with school-age kids? Yes. And because I'm a school psychologist, sometimes the kids are having difficulties at school. And because I know federal and I know local law and I know what the school needs to do, I will attend meetings and kind of work with it because it's an
give them
integrated
IEP or something like that.
An IEP, what accommodations a kid might need. I've helped school staff manage behaviors. I mean, that's my area of expertise. Is you got to think outside of a box. You can't go with one size fits all because it just doesn't. It just doesn't.
Well, one thing I ran for school board, if you remember,
Mm-hmm.
and one thing I wanted them to do was I also think we need to do it as a society is bring back facilities that do things like this. They do take you out of the school environment for a minute. They help you. They give you the therapy. They give you the breathing or the help so that when we integrate you back to school, you've had a chance to turn inward, look at yourself, fix the thing, you know what I mean? And then you also don't take them completely out of a social, environment, but you move them, over here to a more refined, hey, we're going to focus on you. You need help. The 10 kids in class who are being good don't need the help.
We have schools like that, and unfortunately,
They
don't run.
They close like
Wiley's not closed, and
well, they close
one
like
of the ones for
6 out of 9. I think there's only
public
like 3.
schools.
There's only like 3 behavioral disciplinary type schools.
A disciplinary behavior problem. Like if someone actually has a true psychiatric diagnosis, you're not going to discipline them out of it. You know what I'm saying?
Actual help.
But there are special schools of kids that are in self-contained schools, that need to provide a lot more services than they do. But I'm not all for taking a kid out of an environment. I would rather that they be taught skills in the environment because they're going to have to go back into that environment. Mm-hmm. And unless you're teaching something in the environment where you can teach them how to de-escalate their coping skills while something is going on, it's very hard to teach it here and want it to come here.
Okay, interesting.
So and I believe that things, if you want to teach school kids how to go within themselves, then you teach everybody meditation. There are a lot of things.
Like a PE period where like 10 minutes of it's dedicated to meditation?
You don't need that. You can start the day off with everybody in the whole school just kind of closing their eyes and learning different meditation techniques, like putting their hand on the stomach and doing that. Before I left the school district, they kind of created a special position for me because they didn't want me to leave. And I've always been passionate about Miley because that's the school that has the kids with the more emotionally challenging stuff. And I was asked to kind of design it because the one principal had left and they were now looking for another principal. And so I did a lot of research. I did surveys with parents, staff, and students to see what's the problem. I looked at different programs around the country and created something for them. And unfortunately, they didn't want it at that point. And I said, I'm out of here and don't try to talk me into coming back. And that was really kind of sad for me because those are the kids that have the most to offer. Our delinquent kids, when I graduated in my school psych, my graduate paper was on school failure and its contributions to juvenile delinquency. If you're not successful here, and you steal a candy bar, you're going to be successful here. When I wanted to see how was the group hypnotherapy going to actually work, I was lucky because I went to Nevada Youth Parole, which I knew them there, and said, hey, I'd like to kind of give you these groups to see how they go. And plus, I like to give back to my community. And one of the probation officers was moving to Summit View at that point and says, hey, I want to try it there. So I was able to do it there and pilot it there. And the kids were sleeping better. The aggression was down. I remember the head of it coming and saying, yeah, one of the funniest things is that the staff would address one of the kids and all they would do is stop and close their eyes and they would think that they're being disobedient. But what they were was using a technique to calm themselves down before they kind of, went and responded to the situation. And sometimes I'm out and about and kids will come up to me from Summit View and said, I took that. It was the best thing that, that I did. And I still use those techniques. So, but that's my passion. I just want to help everybody.
Well, I'm glad you came on. And before we close, did you have any other questions?
I was just going to ask you, like you said, you help people with their weight and their diet. Have you ever noticed that, like these misbehaved kids, that when they change their diet, you'll also see incline or decline in specific behaviors? Because they're starting to study that now.
I don't help people change their diet. What I do is I help people become aware of what they're eating, why they're eating it, if they're really hungry. So there's monitoring sheets that I come up with for all different kinds of things. So I work a lot in the past with eating disorders, and that's all about power and control. So that incorporates a lot of different types of emotional type stuff. And the one thing is the awareness of what do you feel out of control in your life, and how do we get you to feel more in control. So it's the same with overeating or binge eating, or holding weight is usually holding energy, and sometimes there's things off in the body, that cause an issue for someone to reduce their weight. And I typically don't specifically work with weight reduction. I will do that on top of something that I've already kind of done.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I was more like the diet, the food they eat, the dyes, the sugars.
There's a lot of research on that, but my problem with research is the sample sizes are very small. We have almost 9 billion people on this planet, and until we sample size everybody, it's only speculation. And like I said, what works for one person may not work for another person.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. So I am very grateful and appreciative that you guys had me on.
I'm glad you came on. Mark is going to zoom in on you, and I want you to give some closing remarks to the audience. And if you want to give them a point of contact, phone number, email address, a website, anything, so people can get in touch with you and get more information, that'd be great.
Thank you.
So look at that camera.
I hope that everybody, was able to learn a skill that can keep them peaceful, not just through the holidays, but throughout the rest of the year that we're going into 2025. It will be an amazing year if that's the way you want to make it. And just remember that, you have this moment, and that's all we're guaranteed. So make this moment the most peaceful and the most amazing moment that you possibly can. And if you want to reach out and learn more about me, you can go to my website, which is TammieRoitman.com. And if you want to know more about our groups, you can go to DanausDynamics.com. That's DanausDynamics. Yeah. Yep. And I can always be reached out on my email, which is Tammie, Tammie, Roitman, Roitman, EDS @gmail.com. And you can call my office at 702-222-1812. And I am very grateful and thankful and appreciative that you let me share this time and share some techniques that hopefully bring you a little peace, even if it's just for one moment in your life. And I wish you all amazing holiday and a very happy New Year's. And I appreciate you too.
Well, thanks for coming on, Tammie.
Yes.
Thanks for
Thank
filling
you.
in, Frank, the last minute.
Yeah, Americans, start being honorable and stop being cowards. Just plain and simple. This cowardice needs to stop. Stop bending the knee to the establishment and the people that think they hold the power. You hold the power. Every single one of you and all of you combined hold more power than they will ever know. Start using it for good. Stop being cowards. Stop bending the knee.
And before we close, thank you for that.
Yes,
Before
ma'am.
we close, I just want to remind everybody our Christmas party is next Wednesday,
18th.
December 18th. I know
Yeah.
you guys are all coming. It starts at 6 to 8 p.m. at Noy Pitts Bar and Grill. It's at 1617 South Decatur. And please RSVP to 702-339-6436. Either call or text me. And we have a very large group coming. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have a lot of fun. And the other thing I wanted to mention to all of the folks out there, if you know anybody who is in need of food or toys for the kids for Christmas or just has a need, please reach out to me and let me know. I have a nonprofit and I'd like to help as many people as possible. And I know there's a whole lot of people out there that are behind me that would like to help as well. So if you know somebody or if you are someone who needs help through this holiday season, please reach out 702-339-6436. This is Stephanie Phillips, Frank Friends with Veterans in Politics. We'll see you next time.